Evening, everybody. Welcome to this extraordinary meeting of the Suffolk and North East Essex Intermediate Care Board. Thank you so much for coming to this meeting on an evening. As you know, we've been forced into this position, if you like, through timings, because we've got to make a submission tomorrow. But thank you very, very much for coming. Tom, before I start, could I just check with you for the purpose of the record that we are quorum, please?
We are indeed, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And if I could ask everybody to note that this is a public meeting and we are live streaming. So it is a single agenda item meeting. Therefore, there won't be the minutes and matters arising and all that usual stuff. But we do need to do apologies. So the list I've got, which I'm sure Tom will cross-check for me, apologies from Caroline Donovan, but Kath Byford attending in Caroline's place. Apologies from Frida Barty, Nick Hume and Adrian. I've already seen Adrian is attending for Nick. Thank you, Adrian. Apologies from John Spence, Peter Whiteman, Gareth Everton, but I think Clement Maweo is attending for Gareth. Ed, you're with us. That's good. And have we got Richard yet with us, Tom? I haven't seen him.
You have,
yeah. We have. Hello, Richard. Welcome.
Right.
Thank you very much. Tom, have I missed any out there in terms of apologies?
No, that's everyone, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And then just to complete the intro, as I've said, this is an extraordinary meeting with unfortunately no facility being available in the arrangements here for public questions during the meeting. So if there are any members of the public who would like to raise a question, please do write to us in the normal way. You can write to Tom at the ICB, Tom McColgan, details on the website, or you can communicate any question you've got through PALS, or indeed if you wanted to through an FOI in the normal way. So all the normal routes for asking a question are open to you, and of course you will get a written answer within the prescribed time period from us. So Tom, could I then move on to item 2, which is a notification of any advanced questions from members of the public? Do we have any?
That isn't an item on the agenda today, Chair. No, we don't have any advanced questions. No advanced ones. Okay. And then declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest or potential conflict of interest with any agenda item, a single agenda item, other than those of which we're aware, of course? So any hands raised? I don't see any. We'll take it as no DOIs, in which case I'm going to move us on to the substantive business, which is the ICB 25-26 Priorities and Operational Planning paper. How we're going to run this is I'll go to Richard first, who will discuss and present on the performance aspects of this paper, then to Amanda for workforce, then to Howard for finance. I'm then going to go to Janet, if I may, as chair of our finance and performance committee, to discuss with the board, to present to the board how finance and performance have handled this item. So with that, and this is for approval, assuming the board is so minded to approve, of course, and there are 2 recommendations in the paper before you. The second has 5 subsections to it, so do be aware what you're going to be asked to approve after presentation and discussion. So with that, Richard, can I come to you first, please? Over to you.
Thanks, Will. So just to kind of start by way of background, just for all members. So this is our annual plan, as Will's alluded to, that we need to submit to NHS England by 10 AM tomorrow. There are a number of subsections, as you've seen in the paper, and there's backing templates for each one, which we're working up to the wire to finalise before submission tomorrow. We're pretty much there or thereabouts. Firstly, just a huge thank you to everyone who's been working like mad to get this over the line, particularly over the last 3 to 4 weeks. There's a huge amount of work that's gone in to get us to the place you'll see summarised in this paper. The process we've been going through is internally we've had a weekly strategic planning group that's been overseeing it, and then we've had leads for each of the areas interfacing with our partner and provider leads to pull the plans together. What you see here is a compilation of effectively our provider plans that are then brought together in one narrative that then we are submitting as a system through to NHS England. As Will said, if you go to section 4, we're going to do the other way around. It made sense to start with our kind of performance and activity areas. The headline is that we are putting in nearly a fully compliant plan against each of the national requirements. You'll see in section 4 that that's split down into urgent emergency care, elective, cancer, mental health, primary care, and it takes you through each of the headline measures that NHS England have set for 25-26, and then it provides you a summary narrative by provider, and then collectively, where are we projecting to be for each one. The only area as of tonight that we are projecting not to meet, and that's set out in the paper, is in relation to CAT2 response times, which relates to the ambulance trust. So effectively there is a national standard of an ambulance being dispatched and with someone within 30 minutes. Since we pulled the paper together, this has been a moving feat. It's improved further, and we're now at 34 minutes 55 seconds against the 30-minute standard. There is further work going on to improve that further, and there is a meeting actually with the national NHS England team tomorrow at 9:30. So that's the only one that may further improve. All the rest are now set. There is one slight error in Annex 1, just to point out as well. So West Suffolk is fully compliant. It's been confirmed this afternoon against all of its standards. So there's one that you may have spotted, which is reduce the proportion of people waiting over 52 weeks. This is on page 14 of the pack, where it's down as red. That has now been corrected, and they are now meeting it. So just to say again, the only one now, as we said at Finance and Performance Committee earlier, is the CAT2 response time. And majority of our ICBs across region are also putting in that they won't be able to meet that as it stands. Just turning briefly then to section 5, one of the requirements that Will's alluded to on the second with the 5 bullet points relates to reducing health inequalities. And thank you to Laura and team who've pulled together a short narrative which sets out the work that we're continuing to do to make sure that we are focusing on inequalities in the work that we're doing. And I think the fact that we've continued with a degree of the investment, not the full investment amount, but a degree of the investment that we previously made is a good thing. There's then a section on quality. That's another of the requirements. And just to point out, section 6.4, rightly, there's a requirement to do quality impact assessments and equality impact assessments. We've agreed under Lisa's leadership a process to ensure that that is completed in time for the next meeting of the ICB Quality Committee in April, where effectively the Quality Committee will review those 2 documents for each of the areas where effectively, which Howard will partly signal in the finance item, that we've either slowed down or stopped in terms of investment. And there's a list being pulled together as we speak through Lisa's team for the Quality Committee to go through. So I will pause there and hand over to Amanda just to take you through the headlines of the workforce section. Thanks, Chair.
Just before you do pick that up, Amanda, Richard, I'm just wondering whether it might be better to take questions, if there are any specific questions for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, should we do that first? So open to questions, board members. Please do raise your hand if you have anything you'd like to ask Richard in terms of his performance element. Okay, don't see any hands raised, Richard, so I'll then move us on to Amanda. Amanda, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. So as a system, we are forecasting a total workforce reduction of 3% for 25-26, and that equates to a reduction of 469 full-time equivalents. If we take that high-level summary and then apply it to our providers, the workforce reduction is as follows. ESNEFT are planning a workforce reduction of 2%, which equates to 263 less full-time equivalent. West Suffolk FT are planning a workforce reduction of 4%, which equates to 205 whole-time equivalents. And E-East are actually growing their workforce by 2%, which equates to 115 full-time equivalents to meet national targets. And then if I move us on to the requirement for bank and agency, I would like to assure the board that we are compliant with the requirements to reduce our bank and agency spend going forward. And we as a system are forecasting a reduction of 15% against our bank expenditure and a reduction of 55% against our agency spend. And they are the key headlines, Chair, pertaining to our workforce as a system, but very happy to take any questions.
Many thanks, Amanda. So let's do the same again and let's see if any board member has a question they would like to ask you on that information. And again, I don't see any hands raised. I'll give it another few seconds. No, it looks like no questions, Amanda, so thank you very much. In which case, shall we go to Howard, please, for the finance element?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So the plan is fully compliant on achieving system revenue balance, but not compliant on capital for reasons I'll explain shortly. The key principle behind this year's planning cycle has been for systems to live within their funding settlements and to state clearly the assumptions that need to be true in order for that to be delivered. And I think SNE have adhered to those principles, and it's the basis on which we've achieved that balanced financial plan. That's comprised of a surplus at the ICB of 20.6 million, a surplus at E-East of 0.1 million, a balanced position at ESNEFT, and a deficit position at West Suffolk Foundation Trust of 20.7 million. Those plans have been signed off by each organisation's respective boards and been through the assurance and supported by the ICB Finance Workforce and Performance Committee prior to coming here. Just want to say that it's a fact that 2025-26 will be more challenging than the last few years post-COVID for all organisations in the system. So early implementation and delivery is going to be absolutely critical. The key system risks are set out in para 2.4 of the report, and they combine for a total net risk of 18.7 million. It's 12 million at West Suffolk and 7 million at E-East. A number of those items are in effect out of our control, such as the change in policy, potential change of policy of payment limits, national announcements on ICBs and NHSE, and the potential for further unfunded pay settlements. So again, our main focus really needs to be clearly on the delivery of the high efficiency requirement, and in particular supporting West Suffolk in delivering its SIP delivery and any potential additional mitigations, as well as working with NHS England and E-East in concluding those discussions with respect to C2 delivery and deployment of the growth funding. Also to say that NHSE are aware of the risks associated with the West Suffolk plan and delivery in particular, and are committed to working with us to support that delivery. Regulators are also aware of the wider risks, but I'd recommend that this is more formally put in writing to NHSE as part of the plan submission process for this new system. I think just to say again, as a core message, I don't think we can wait until getting into Q1 before reacting to any adverse changes. There's a clear phase of delivery which needs to be starting to happening now, both in terms of delivering those key mitigating actions and in reality developing more. And the ICB Finance Workforce Performance Committee will be, I think, a key assurance vehicle for that going forward from April. A quick word on capital. So para 2.5 of the pack sets out the fact that we are not compliant, as we are £25.4 million over our capital limit. This is a result of a recognised shortfall in funding for IFRS 16. It's been acknowledged by NHS England, and they know to expect this as a validation error when we submit tomorrow. IFRS 16 is basically a requirement to capitalise certain leases, which then counts against our capital limit. SNE is more impacted by this than most systems because of the fact that East are in our system and they lease their vehicles, a fact that unfortunately still hasn't been properly recognised through the capital allocations. I believe, and I've said the same to the committee this afternoon, that this is a low risk given that NHS England are fully aware. They expect us to submit this as not compliant. And they've also have history now of the last couple of years of increasing that systems limit for IFRS 16 every year. So since this change is put in place, so it's therefore reasonable to expect the same thing is going to happen again in 25-26. Before I conclude, I just want to echo Richard's comments and thank all partner organisations for the collaborative and really professional manner in which we've come to this position, given its high complexity and the associated risks involved. It's been challenging at times, and of course the delivery will need more of the same, I think. And in conclusion, Chair, the board are asked to approve this plan, noting that it has been approved by all respective partner boards, and so this is the final stage. It's been through further assurance at the ICB Finance Performance Committee this afternoon and was supported there. And just to note that it's not compliant on the capital and C2 performance metrics that Richard has indicated later, but also noting that regulators are aware and accepting that we're going to be submitting the plan as such. I'll stop there.
Howard, thank you very much. And let's do the same again. Open for questions, colleagues. Please raise your hand. And I think the first one I've seen there is Ed. Over to you, Ed.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I definitely echo Howard's comments around the professionalism and the hard work during this very complex planning process. I thought it might be helpful just for members of the public that might be watching this, just to wrap a bit of context around Amanda's comments. So she was describing reductions in workforce, which might spark some concern from our community. But I think the context here is that in 2019, prior to the pandemic, the NHS was higher performing than it is now and more productive, but with significantly fewer staff than we have now. So staffing isn't necessarily a proxy for performance or productivity. So it's just for people to be aware of that context when we're describing reductions in workforce.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Thank you very much for that clarification. Kath.
Yeah, thank you. I just thought it was important for us to flag at West Suffolk having a 7% cost improvement programme is a challenge and is higher than some other trusts. And that requires a £32.7 million saving. Year to date, month 11, West Suffolk, looking at the papers from yesterday, has achieved 18.7, which is ahead of plan, which is great. I just thought it would be a good opportunity to capture as a board the quality impact assessment process that would be in place when considering that there is a large efficiency target required, and assurance that early delivery from month 1 would ease the risk associated with having such a high efficiency target.
Yes, thank you, Kath. I'll come to, perhaps I'll ask Ewan to comment on that, those 2 points in particular, the quality impact assessment, but also the timeliness point that you raised, which of course you were reiterating essentially Howard's point there, that this requires an immediate start in terms of attention to the SIP programme. Ewan, would you like to comment on Kath's points?
Only to say there is a rigorous QIA and EQIA process behind all of the savings, and as Howard said in his introduction, we will require the support both of the ICB and the NHS England regional team to deliver these savings. So yes, it is stretching. We've not at any stage suggested it's anything other than that, and we are working to deliver as quickly as we can.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for that, Ewan, and we'll capture Ewan's response there, Tom, in the minutes if appropriately. Andrew, over to you.
It's just really to extend the conversation about quality impact assessment. So, I mean, you will, like me, I'm sure, notice that there are some fairly difficult things we've got to do in this plan to make it work. And the fact that the quality impact assessment will follow the plan might cause some anxiety for people. And I want to give board members reassurance and assurance that I certainly intend, as we go through that process in the Quality Committee, to do them rigorously and not to do it to find a way to approve the plan, but to do it to find a way that really understands what the impact is on quality. And if it emerges that there are any unmitigated or unacceptable risks as a result of these plans, that we will bring that back to the board and escalate that in the proper way. So it's fully my intention to go through that quality impact assessment process in a rigorous and objective way.
Excellent, thank you, Andrew. And again, Tom, a really important point to capture there from the point of view of the minutes and the record of business. So thank you for that, Andrew. Any other questions relating to Howard before I go over to Janet? No, all done. So Janet, over to you. Feedback from you as Chair of Finance and Performance Committee, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, and it's already been accounted by others that the Finance and Performance and Workforce Committee have had oversight of the production of this plan. And it's fair to say it's been a very busy month. We've had 4 meetings of that committee, and I'm really grateful to everybody who's attended. And just for assurance, the membership includes senior officers of our provider trusts who are doing the plans, but also non-executives from the provider trusts. And we've had an opportunity to triangulate all the plans around finance, performance and workforce, and that's incredibly important that we've triangulated those areas, and we have given significant scrutiny and significant push for ensuring that we are able to achieve our performance objectives, which is very pleasing, and have got to a place where we have a system finance balanced system finance plan. It's not without significant risk, and we are not blind to that, and we know that it's going to be a very, very challenging year. And the Finance and Performance Committee recognise that our role is now to ensure delivery of those plans, working together in partnership. And there was a commitment this afternoon at the Finance and Performance and Workforce Committee from all partners to deliver that and to hold each other to account on delivery, but to be fleet of foot, as Andrew has said. If quality impact doesn't suggest one thing, we need to have other plans, and we need to work together to do that as a system. I also would like to thank all the teams in the ICB for the work that they've done, and everybody in the provider organisations who've developed these plans and come to committees and provided the assurance that we needed to build this plan. Finance Performance this afternoon took the decision to recommend these plans to the board for approval, and I'll assure you that we will be holding to account from month 1 for delivery on these.
Wonderful, thank you, Janet. Any questions for Janet from board members? No. Okay, no hands raised. Are there any other general points or questions that people would like to raise before we go to the approval required? Again, I see no hands raised. So let's try and move towards that approval then. I think it's fair to say that the board noted the 2 non-compliant points that were raised, the East Cat 2 and the capital non-compliance, but also noting the points that these were, if you like, both expected by region and national, and were in the wider gamut were expected, if that's the right word. We've also noted the issue over the SIP challenge and quality impact assessment, both specifically, but of course generically across the whole system there, and that speed in terms of delivery and the work required to deliver this plan in 25-26 is going to be of the essence from the very beginning of the new year. So with that general summary, the board is then asked to approve 2 recommendations, which are before you in the paper. The first one is that the board approves the plans as presented today and with the caveats as discussed for submission to NHS England tomorrow, actually, noting ongoing dialogue with NHSE that could affect the final East plan, as was explained earlier. And secondly, that the board provides an assurance statement to NHS England, which confirms, and I wouldn't normally read out 5 longish sentences, but I think given the importance of this and the fact that we are in a public meeting here, I am going to read out the following 5 sub-clauses to recommendation number 2. First of all, the first one, the board has assured the plans for 2025-26 that form the basis of the systems, that's ICB and partner trusts, submissions to NHS England, that the board has reviewed its quality and finance governance arrangements and put in place a clinically led process to support prioritisation of decisions. Number 3, prioritisation decisions were reviewed by the board, including explicit consideration of the principles set out in the planning guidance which we received. Number 4, a robust quality and equality impact assessment has informed the development of the ICBs and the wider systems plans, and that these have been reviewed by the board. And then finally, number 5, the systems plan was developed with appropriate input from and engagement with system partners. So those are the 2 recommendations which we're being asked to approve tonight. Number 1, and then number 2 with its 5 subparts. Are there any objections, first of all, to approval of any part of those 2 recommendations? And I see no hands raised. So with that, I'm therefore going to suggest that the board is now resolving to approve both recommendations and to carry out the actions as required by those recommendations. Is that the resolution approved? Any hands raised in objection? None. Therefore approved. Thank you very much. Thank you all. And perhaps you've all articulated this better than I would, I'm sure. And I don't want to repeat every word that's been said by way of thanks. But actually, from me personally and from all board members, a terrific thanks to you all for the huge amount of work done by all partners and stakeholders in such difficult and challenging circumstances to get to that position tonight. So thank you to you all. It's been a terrific workload, a terrific job. Well done. Our next meeting is on the 20th of May. And with that, I'm going to say thanks and good night and ask Tom, if everybody would kindly stay on the line for a private meeting in the normal course. I'm going to ask Tom to stop the live streaming for the public part of this meeting. So